Just once in a lifetime, a man knows a moment, one wonderful moment, when fate takes his hand. Well, this is my moment, my once in a lifetime, when I can explore a new and exciting land.
Sammy Davis Jr., the world's greatest entertainer. Exciting, outrageous, tacky, and classy. He was show business.
This is my moment, my destiny called me, though it may be once in a lifetime.
There was nobody that I know of that I've ever been on stage with who could do everything. That is, he sang, he danced, he told funny stories.
All right, the audience up against the wall, sweetheart. That's it. And I want just cool it with the applause, Charlie.
Well, whenever he came on the scene, you know, everything just started popping. And it was so funny. I mean, he felt it absolutely necessary to make you laugh.
When Sammy Frankendine hit Vegas, hit the Strip, or hit a club, or hit a restaurant, the whole town came alive.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bob the host.
You know what people say? Show business is my life.
With him it was.
With him, it was his life.
Oh, this is my moment, my destiny's called me, so take me once in a lifetime. I gotta do good things.
History. The experience was a nightmare.
Captain Craig, who was the head of Special Services, his assistant was a female, fairly attractive lady, and she came over to ask me, did I want to get into Special Services? Obviously, this was observed by a group of guys, and they saw me talking to her, and this, that, and the other. 2 or 3 days later, I was in a service club, and the cats grabbed me outside. Said, you want to be white? You're going to talk to white women and all this. And these were all white guys. And a scuffle ensued, and they took me and stripped me up and painted me white.
At first, Sammy fought back with his fists. But then he discovered he had an even more powerful weapon to fight prejudice. His talent.
But I say thank you very much. It's nice to be out of the Army. I got something that my dad and uncle don't know that I can do. We talked about it, but I never got a chance to do it for him. I'm going to do it for you nice folks tonight. And I said, how about Jimmy Stewart? You know, well, gee whiz, I'd really like to say that it really is a pleasure to be back among my own folk. And when they went, rah, we got off the stage, people were standing. We got into the dressing room. My father said, if you ever do that again, I'm going to kill you.
By 1946, the trio got their first gig in what was soon to become the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas.
Black acts couldn't even come in the front door of a hotel. Black acts working in Vegas couldn't stay in the hotel. And this was Lena and Harry Belafonte and Nat Cole, because there was a very hard color line.
New York wasn't much better.
Any wrong should ask me.
And then he played every instrument in the band, did a couple of dramatic songs, then told a bunch of jokes, and the place went nuts.
After 25 years in show business, Sammy Davis Jr. was backstage after the show. Eddie gave Sammy a mezuzah, a Hebrew charm containing blessings for good luck, health, and happiness. Sammy wore it from that moment on, and luck was with him. Decca Records signed him to a long-term contract. His first single, Hey There, went to the top of the charts. In Vegas, he broke the long-standing color line when the Frontier Hotel offered the trio its best suites while they appeared there. But one night, Sammy forgot to wear the mezuzah. It was the night his career and life almost ended.
I was home. I was right in New York, and I get a call that Sammy was in an accident. That was on November the 18th, 1954.
Sammy was driving with a friend from Vegas to L.A. for a recording session when the car alongside him suddenly tried to make a U-turn in front of him. As Sammy hit the car, his head smashed against the steering column. Then Sammy became aware of the blood streaming down his face. Just before he lost consciousness, he fell to his knees.
Well, he was nervous, and he had an eye patch on, and the place was jammed. There were stars as far as you could see it. And he came out that night and absolutely pulverized an audience. And the next day, I think certainly everyone there and everyone who heard about it generally accepted the fact that this was maybe the biggest talent that we'd ever seen.
The accident was a turnaround. You know, that turned the career around. We went from an actor that got $3,500 a week to $25,000, only because of the heat that the publicity had brought on it, on the act, and on me as a personality.
With a vengeance, Sammy began to make up for the years of struggle. Spending sprees, parties every night, and an endless parade of women became as much a part of Sammy's fame as his talent.
It was just, Sammy was the king of excess. He was the king. He worked his ass off. I mean, he worked 50 weeks a year. Worked his ass off. Made a lot of money, spent a lot of money, and did everything he wanted. And if he couldn't afford it, screw it. He'd do it anyway and figure out a way.
There was no middle gear with Sammy. He would be asleep for a few hours a night, and from the time he got up, it was what they call pedal to the metal. He went for it.
I went crazy, went bananas, you know, because you want to buy all the things that you never had. Then you start, we all have fetishes and toys that we like to have. And you start living beyond your means, which is the oldest story in the world, which makes performers notorious.
Sammy was the audiences, and maintaining his roots in the black community wasn't always easy.
Sammy had to exist in both worlds. And certain people who didn't have acceptance in both worlds used to get pissed seeing Sammy have that acceptance. People who wanted what Sammy had.
People were constantly putting Sammy down, except for the group that would come to see him.
What Sammy's fellow performers wanted more than anything else was followed Sammy back to Hollywood when he began dating Kim Novak. There were rumors they were going to get married. There were also rumors that Kim's boss, Columbia studio chief Harry Cohn, had asked the mafia to bust up the romance. Whatever the reason, Kim and Sammy stopped seeing each other.
People. You know, I mean, he pretty much ran the gamut of hate. You know, you could hate him for being black or Jewish, or short, or gaudy. You could hate him for a bunch of things, you know.
Religion wasn't enough for Sammy. He began drinking, and drinking heavily. Drunk one night in Vegas, he asked Lorraine,
Life is a woman, an endless surprise, always opening up your heart and closing your eyes.
Her name was Mai Britt. She was starring in a remake of Marlene Dietrich's The Blue Angel, when Sammy spotted her while having lunch at 20th Century Fox. When he asked his friends about her, they told him, forget it. Mai wasn't into the Hollywood social scene. Sammy wouldn't listen. He pursued her the way he had pursued stardom. He never gave up. Sammy was on a roll. Not only was he in love, he was making entertainment history. The Rat Pack had come to his talent.
We were in Puerto Rico, and he called a meeting, as he was wont to do anytime he felt like it. He said, look, this is the way this situation is going to work. Every time I hit the stage, I'm giving 150%. Say, I hope you won't mind or you don't feel offended if I ask you for 110. And that's where it went. All the time. No matter however he was feeling or whatever.
Maybe I wasn't cut out to be a husband or a father. Come to think of it, I didn't exactly stop the world as a human being either.
Sammy was alone again. But if he couldn't be the best husband or father, he was determined to be the best Sammy Davis Jr.
What kind of fool am I who never fell in love? It seems that I'm the only one that I have been thinking of.
The day his wife and kids moved out of the house, Sammy Davis Jr. lost everything he had personally. But professionally, at least he still had the love of the people who really mattered, his audience. In the late 60s, they saw a new Sammy.
Sammy had it around because he was going through a period in his life where he was hanging out with some lowlifes, in my opinion. As was I, which is what that drug does to you.
Well, it's tough to be a friend who you see is like shooting their life down the drain, but
there was nothing
there's nothing you could do. I mean,
there wasn't anything anybody.
People who are paid professionals.
If there was anybody who could keep Sammy from completely going off the deep end, it was his assistant, Shirley Rhodes.
Sammy loved Shirley more than I think he's probably ever loved anybody. You know, she was the only person that could tell him when he was being a goddamn fool.
The one bright spot in Sammy's life was a dancer named Altaviz Gore. She was fun, easy to be with, and loved show business. After Sammy married her in 1970, they quickly earned a reputation as the most flamboyant couple in Hollywood. As he approached 50, Sammy had far from settled down. He became obsessed with a fear of growing old. When singer Tom Jones came to him with a song about an aging dancer, Sammy said, "Forget it."
I didn't want to do it. I thought I was going to wind up that guy, that old man, stumbling on the street at the age I am now, with no fame, with no nothing, having never made it, with the frayed cuffs, but trying to keep an inner dignity.
Sprinkle it with dew, color it with chocolate or a mirror color too. The candy man can.
His fears were unfounded. Sammy was still on top in the early 70s. With The Candy Man, he had the biggest hit of his recording career. On TV,
The hugging of Nixon didn't bother me at all. Sammy has hugged everyone except Adolf Hitler.
Like Bill Cosby, couldn't stand to see what Sammy was doing to himself.
You know, when you see someone and they're abusing themselves, I don't care how much you admire them or how high up on this imaginary pedestal you put them. My yelling at him and berating him was totally selfish because I wanted to see Sammy Davis Jr. I didn't want to see this fool out there.
Sammy finally quit Droz Past. The Rat Pack was getting together one more time. When Dean left the tour after a few weeks, Frank and Sammy brought in another legend, Liza Minnelli.
The buzz, the energy that was in the air for that tour was just incredible. And Sammy, you know, night after night, he was killing. He was just, this was like a rare opportunity to be playing in stadiums, and he wanted everybody to feel like it was like they were right in his living room.
Being on the road most of the year, Sammy rarely got a chance to see his own living room. So wherever he went, he'd take all the comforts of home with him.
He would, you know, have all these pictures packed, and, you know, even had like a mini kitchen and food and, you know, all his clothes, you know, like all these shoes. Imelda Marcos had nothing on him.
On the road or at home, Sammy's new love was cooking. It was more than just a hobby.